Beautiful souls, welcome back to this week's edition of the You Unlimited podcast. I am so grateful that you're here as we tune into what I was channeling for today's episode. And that was all about the importance and the power of the people that you surround yourself with. And I know that this is not news. Many of us have heard this. It's like, yeah, surround yourself, like the five people you surround yourself with will deeply impact, where your growth is and what's holding you back and all of these things. So this is not a new concept, but I want us to take it a little bit further because I think sometimes we get things in like business, but we don't get it in personal, or we get it in personal, but we don't get it in business. And it's really important that we start to take a look at who is in my inner circle that I know without a shadow of a doubt would be there for me, is there to support me, has the highest intentions for me, sees me in my higher vision. Who are those people? And also, who are the people that I feel energetically drained by? That if I'm spending time with them, I feel like depleted afterwards, or it's almost like they're siphoning my energy and things of that nature. But we let them, right? Like our energy is all about what are we letting people do, right? So we got to protect our energy, which is really, really important. So if you're new to that concept, 10 out of 10 recommend getting the 5-minute energy reset. It will cleanse and clear your energy of anyone else's energy you may have been picking up. And simultaneously, it will protect your energy, especially in relationships, close proximity relationships. And I use this before client calls. I use this to protect my clients. It's really, really important because what it does is it cleanses and clears your energy and also protects your energy. So you're no longer siphoning or being siphoned from other people's energy, right? Or your own energy being siphoned by them. So it's really important and powerful for us to tune in and say, who are these incredible people that are in my corner? And I had to get really kind of crystal clear on this because I used to be the girl in college that had all the friends, right? It was like I had all the friends and I was like, checking all the boxes, and I was surrounded by so many people. And for me at that time, it was more about quantity than it was so much me really tuning in and saying, are these people for my highest good? Do they resonate with where I'm heading? Things of that nature. But honestly, at that moment in time, I didn't know myself. So how was I supposed to be surrounding myself with people who really knew me, that could support me through, my deepest and darkest moments? So the more that I got to know myself, the more that I honored myself and my truth, the more I realized just how important it was that I was surrounded by people who also, at the very least, respected my truth, right? Because I'm not looking for everyone around me to agree with me. I don't think that that's actually healthy when we're surrounded by people who just everything we say they agree with and vice versa. It's like, there's beauty in having a lot of similarities, but I think there's so much beauty as well in someone who expands us and someone who has a different point of view and someone who can kind of see a bigger picture or things of that nature. So the beauty in that is to start to really tune in and say, once I start to really know myself, it's about surrounding myself with people who respect me, even if they might not agree with me. But it really does boil down to that. Are the people in your life deeply respecting you, regardless of whether or not your opinion is different from theirs? Right. And so I think it's really important for us to tune into this, not only in our business life, but also in our personal life. Right. And vice versa. So I would task you just for a minute to start to tune into the people that you surround yourself with and ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm in the presence of this person? Do I feel lit up? Do I feel revitalized? Do I feel seen? Do I feel heard? Do I feel like when I'm in their presence, I matter? Right? Or is there a different sort of energetic exchange happening where you're like, I feel depleted, like I'm just giving to this person, or they're siphoning energy from me and it's not working for me anymore? Things of that nature. It's really powerful for us to start to tune in and see how our body also feels. Do I feel constricted in my body when I'm hanging out with them, like tightness in my chest or a sinking feeling in my gut? Things of that nature. Or do I feel expanded? Do I feel like I just had the best, most relaxing spa day of all time because I laughed, because I felt seen, because there was depth to it, because there was expansive energy? Like, things that I deeply value are things of that nature. Can I go deep with you? Can I simultaneously laugh with you? Do I feel seen in your presence? Am I taking the time to really see you and listen to you and hold space for you and vice versa? Does it feel reciprocal? Things of that nature. So I started to get really crystal clear on what that looked like in my life. And I had to go through my own personal experience of really getting clear on first my values, but two, I had to be really clear about boundaries and what I was available for when I started to recognize that certain things in my life were not being met or certain things in relationships were not being met. Where it was like, I feel just kind of like unheard, disrespected. I feel like, some of the things that were happening, especially in my later 20s, early 30s, things of that nature, I just remember being like, yeah, this isn't it. This doesn't feel good. It was kind of some mean girl energy that I was experiencing in my vicinity. And I was like, I don't want to spend my time talking about other people. I want to spend my time building things. And I want to spend my time expanding and supporting other people. And I don't want to destroy. I want to build. I want to use my creative life force energy for good, And so I started recognizing the discord between me and some of the people I was surrounded by, not only in personal life, but also in business. So like for instance, when I was in corporate for a long time, I felt like there was that kind of like some toxic corporate relationships as well, where I was like, I'm going to start leaning in different ways. I'm going to start to share my boundaries. I'm going to start to share what I'm available for. I'm going to start to really honor myself and my truth. And it actually changed the way that people were showing up for me or if they could not show up for me in that way. And I didn't make them wrong for not being able to show up for me in the way that I needed them to. Instead, I let them be exactly where they were. I just kind of set this new precedent around like, this is what I'm available for. And if that's not in alignment with you, that's okay. But it doesn't make sense for us to continue on in this way, right? So there was some grieving that had to happen. There were relationships that no longer made sense to come with me where I was going. But I had to get really crystal clear again on my values and I had to communicate those and then create boundaries around what that looked like. So it's really, really important that we surround ourselves with people that will, again, all of these things that I said before, see us, love us, deeply acknowledge us, nourish us, because relationships are not just there for fun, right? Like relationships are amazing and they're expansive and they're beautiful, but who do you want in your corner when shit hits the fan, when everything is going wrong, when you have a rock bottom moment? Who do you want in your corner that's going to hold space for you like no one else can? Because I'm telling you, we can't keep doing life and business on our own. And I know that you're a strong person. I know that there's probably some tendencies to be like, I'm just going to lone wolf it. I'm going to do it myself. I can knock this out. I'm good to go. Like, I don't need any help. And I spent a majority of my life being one, glorified for that, but two, living my life that way, where I was like, I am, incredibly independent. I make my own money. Like, I can do it all on my own. And it wasn't until moments that really brought me to my knees that I recognized how much my tribe really mattered, how much I really needed to be honest with the people that I knew could hold space for me, could love me through my hardest moments. And it was so important for me to not only go through the shedding, the releasing of the people that weren't in alignment, but that really set me up for the moments where I fell to my knees, where I was experiencing miscarriage after miscarriage, where I was experiencing devastation after devastation. And all of these things just kept happening where I was like, I don't understand what's going on, but I can't do this alone anymore. And I realized how important our tribe truly is. And that is people in our personal life. That is our coaches and our mentors. That is people in business that we're partnering with. We have to know that when shit hits the fan or when things go haywire, that they have our backs, that they're there to support us through it, that they can meet us in our deepest, darkest moments and also support us in rising up above, right? We need to know that they're there for the full Phoenix rising experience, which means when everything is burning to the ground, they're standing right in the fire with us. And then when I'm raising from the ashes and I've got these big beautiful wings, they're not just there to fly, they were there with me through it. And now we can fly together. And so it's this really beautiful moment of starting to recognize the power of who we surround ourselves with and how it can so deeply impact who we are, where we're going, and what we create in this world, right? Safety is so important. So we have to start to really tune into who are the people that I'm surrounded by that I know I could lean into if and when, and really it's more a case of when things go wrong, because we're not meant to do this alone. And I've just been noticing this more and more recently, how important my tribe is. The people that I have surrounded myself with, the people that love me so deeply, these are the people that I dedicate my time and energy to. In the relationships where I was feeling like it wasn't reciprocal, I just stopped giving into those spaces. And they kind of did exactly what they would do, which would dissipate on their own, right? One of the most powerful things we can do is actually not give our energy into a space that is misaligned, right? Because sometimes people are provoking. They want to, still have this like energetic exchange of like they're poking the bear and they want us to show up. And it's like one of the most powerful things we can do is actually preserve our energy and not even lean in. And so it's really powerful when we start to tune into my life force energy gets to be honored. And how am I honoring that life force energy? How am I pouring into myself? How am I supporting myself through this? And who am I surrounding myself with that truly has my best interest in mind, that wants to see me win, that will be there when I'm winning to celebrate the big wins, and will also be there when everything is falling apart? We all need those people, regardless of how independent we are, regardless of how we know we can do it on our own. There will be moments where we need someone to support us through it. And it's going to feel so nourishing for your soul to feel seen and held as you move through some of the deepest and darkest moments of your life. And so this is what I've been channeling for this episode, is just a call to say, take a minute to really tune into your relationships. Which of your relationships feel really nourishing? And how can you start to lean into those in ways that feel even more soul aligned? How can you start to give more into those spaces or allow yourself to be seen more in those spaces, right? Again, if you're tuning in, you probably are the strong one. Can you let yourself be vulnerable even more in the space? Can you let yourself be seen even more in the space? Is there something you're moving through that would actually feel deeply nourishing if this person that's in your corner could hold space for you for a minute? Right? Like I have girlfriends that I reach out to that we will voice note each other back and forth and walk each other through some of the deepest and darkest things, whether it's a phone call or voice notes or whatever that looks like. We're there for each other. And it feels so good to know that I can be seen and heard and held in that way, and vice versa. And it's so funny because for many of us, the conversation starts with, you know, eek, this is stretchy, you know what I mean? But also, it's so nourishing. And the more that I notice the people that I love leaning in and doing that, the more connected I feel to them. I'm like, wow, they're also not perfect. Perfect. That's so nice to know that also this woman that I so deeply admire, this man that I so deeply admire, is coming to me and sharing, like, man, shit's hitting the fan. Or man, this is just not going well. I'm like, I feel so much more connected to that person and I feel so seen through their experience. And I love holding space for people that allow themselves to be vulnerable, but it takes us going first. I think some of these relationships, it took me going first, being seen in that vulnerability where they were like, okay, well, I guess that's permission for me to go now, and it's really beautiful when we can hold space for one another in that way and know that we have people that can hold that space. And that's one of the things that why I love my one-on-one coaching as well so much, my one-on-one mentorship and coaching and healing. I receive messages all the time from my clients that are like, I've never felt a space like this before where I can let the deepest, darkest, most woo woo, most crazy, off the wall part of myself be seen where I can't let anyone else see it. Sometimes not even our partners, our best friends, our family members, our children. Sometimes we can't let even those people in because there's a part of us that's like, I don't know if they're ready to see that depth yet. I don't know if they can hold space for that kind of depth yet. And it's like my greatest honor to be able to hold those spaces for every single one of my clients. I just received the most beautiful message from one of my clients. I mean, it was like a 10-minute voice note of her just being like, I could not tell you how grateful I am for this space. Like the darkness that I've moved through and how I got to the other side and how nothing is off the table, nothing is too weird, nothing is too crazy, nothing is too off the wall, right? And that's the beauty of allowing the full breadth of the human experience to be seen, right? Because these are the containers that I create. I'm like, look, when you're feeling angry, let it rip in here, right? Because 99.9% of what you're about to say isn't even true. Your inner teen just needs to rant. So let it rip. And so the women, they step into the space and they're like, they just let it rip. And it's so powerful to just witness them in their freest, deepest expression. And then afterwards, they're like, I don't even believe any of the stuff I just said. All the stuff I just said, it doesn't even feel true for me anymore, but I've been harboring and holding on to this heaviness because I haven't let myself be seen in it. So we need these spaces where people can hold space and say, let it rip, let it rip, right? Or the saddest, the darkest, those moments where we just need to get it out to get to the wisdom underneath it. Having safe containers and safe spaces and relationships and mentors and coaches and healers where we can go to that depth is one of the most healing things that we will ever experience. And I experience this with my own healers over and over and over again, where I let my inner child be seen. I let my inner teen be seen. I let the version of me yesterday, the version of me today, the scariest, most vulnerable parts of myself to be seen because I get to understand her more. I get to love on her more. The angry parts of me just need that much more love in this moment. So can I let her have the rant and then show up for her, love her more in that space? When we can let it all rip, it's the most powerful, somatic, spiritual, emotional healing that we can lean into. And so when we have people in our world that can hold a deep container like that, it changes us on a cellular level. It changes the world on a collective level. It is one of the greatest gifts in the world that we can give someone. And it's like my deepest honor to be able to hold that space for my clients in that way and hold that space for my friends in this way and the people that I dedicate my time and energy to in this way because it changes the planet. So my call forward for you today is for you to just really tune into your current relationships. What are the relationships that I could tune into more, lean into more? What are the relationships where I can create more boundaries and really like share those boundaries with love and kindness? Because I have to say, some of the feedback I've gotten from people before has been like, you know what? I actually deeply appreciate when you created that boundary. Those are uncomfortable conversations, right? Where we're like, hey, this isn't working for me. And here's what's alive for me. But you share it with love and kindness. It lands so different in their mind, body, and spirit that if we were to relay it and shame someone through something, right? There's a difference between relaying a boundary and shaming someone in the process, right? Or relaying a boundary and having it be something that we say with love and kindness, right? I've had people come back to me years later and be like, I'm so grateful that you said what you did because it had me recognize how I was showing up here is how I was showing up everywhere. And it was a catalyst for me to evolve, to grow, to expand in a different way. And it's so powerful when we can do that for one another because we are in these bodies to not only expand ourselves, but to be mirrors for other people, to support in their expansion as well. So our innermost circle and relationships are really, really meant to be powerful portals for expansion for ourselves and others. So again, look at these deep relationships, allow yourself to know where you want to lean in more, where you want to create deeper boundaries with love and kindness. And then simultaneously allow yourself to be seen in the spaces that feel safe. Allow yourself to be seen potentially a little more vulnerably this week. What could you do? What could you share that would actually have you feel really nourished to be seen and communicate? Because that takes bravery as well. Those are uncomfortable conversations as well. When we go to our edges and we're like, I'm not okay, or hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. These conversations are soul expanders because when we abandon the intuitive nudge that we have within ourselves, we then find ourselves in relationships where we're feeling abandoned, we're feeling resentful. But the person's like, I'm not a mind reader. I had no idea you felt this way, right? So it's really powerful when we can let ourselves be seen and we can let ourselves be a little more vulnerable in these spaces. And I think you'll be very surprised at how you might be met, right, in these spaces. And it's all about leaning into safe spaces where you know that you can be held and seen in a way that's nourishing, right? That's why I hold these safe containers for my clients to go to the absolute deepest depth that they want to go. That's why I do this with my friends because I know the power of it. And so it's about really tuning into your intuition. Where do I feel like I can really be seen and heard in this? Let those be the spaces that you explore, right? Because some spaces, some people, people can only meet us to the depths that they're willing to go themselves. So it's really important to just notice. Sometimes we're like, oh, I want my partner to be my cheerleader and my masseuse and my emotional support pillow and my provider. It's like we want them to be all the things. And then sometimes it's like, maybe he's perfect exactly the way that he is. And he doesn't have to check every single one of these boxes. Maybe I can actually explore this vulnerable experience with my healer because I know she's going to hold a deep, powerful space for me. Or my one of my greatest, deepest relationships where I feel like I can really be seen and held in a different way in this space. Or maybe it is your partner. Whatever that looks like, just use your intuition, but also tune into the fact that people can only meet you to the depths that they're willing to go for themselves. So if they're not willing to go there for themselves, they're probably not going to be able to meet you in the depths of that. So just know that because sometimes we can share things and people are like, oh, I'm so sorry, babe. Okay, bye. You're like, well, that didn't go as planned. So it's really, really important to just kind of tune in, use your intuition, and allow yourself to be seen and heard in spaces where you know that the depth is there, that you can really allow your deepest, darkest parts of yourself to be seen so that you can expand into the freest version of yourself. Because I'm telling you, the things that are most vulnerable are most universal. And Jordan Bowditch came on the show and he actually said that. And I just remember thinking, yeah, that's such a powerful statement. And I know he heard one of his mentors say that. So it was one of those where it was just like, man, the things that we find most vulnerable are truly most universal. And that takes so much of the pressure and the edge off of what we're feeling. We think we're the only ones going through miscarriage. We think we're the only ones going through this, shitty thing in business. We think we're the only ones going through a divorce. We think we're the only ones who have a failed this or a failed that or don't know how to balance motherhood and business or whatever that might be, where we think we're failing or the inner dialogue just isn't serving us. And the second we share that, it's all of a sudden you're surrounded in a room where people are like, yeah, I felt that this morning. I feel that right now. I felt that 3 weeks ago. And here's how I got to the other side of it. Right. And it's really powerful to just notice that when we have these safe containers to be seen and heard and held and witnessed, that suddenly it doesn't feel like such a burden. It doesn't feel like we're the only ones moving through something that's so hard and so heavy. But it does require us to get really crystal clear on who are we surrounding ourselves with that can actually hold and has the capacity to go to the depths at which your soul is really desiring to go. So I hope that this ignited something beautiful within you. I hope that this reminds you of how worthy you are of being seen and heard and loved and witnessed and guided. I'm just sending you so much light and love, and I'm so eternally grateful for you and you stepping outside of your comfort zone, you choosing to be seen and heard in a new way, to expand yourself, your soul, your business. It requires bravery. It requires the uncomfortable. So I just want you to know that I see you. I see you in all the things that you're moving through, both personally and on a business front. And I just want to acknowledge you so big for everything that you've said yes to, for all the scary steps that you've moved forward into, for all the times where you stumbled and fell back down the mountain and got back up and dusted yourself off and moved back up to the next layer. I see you. I see you as you move through that. And I just want you to know how much I admire your resilience through all of it. And you don't have to do it alone anymore. You don't have to do it alone. So I'm sending you so much light and love. I hope this ignited something deep within you that reminds you how worthy you are to be seen and heard exactly where you are. And I just love you from the depths of my soul. Thank you so much for spending your most precious resource with us, your time. And until next time.